Ready to complete your North Carolina Real Estate Commission licensing application, but unsure of what needs to be submitted? Well, Skyline School is here to help. Let's go through the application process step by step and talk about the licensure exam. First, let's see what is required to complete your application. To complete your application, you will need to provide your legal name. As a reminder, you will need to make sure that you use the same name that was used for your background check, so the records will match. Do not include any accent or hyphenation marks, as the NCREC system does not recognize them. Your Social Security number, your residence address, listing out every place you have lived in the past 7 years, and your employment history. After completing your employment history, the next step on the application is to check whether or not you have been licensed to sell real estate previously. If you have not been previously licensed, you will simply need to indicate that you are a first-time exam taker. Now is where we come in. Now you will need to list the courses you have completed with Skyline School, course instructor, and our education provider number. Next, we have the requirement to demonstrate good character. This is done through evaluation of your application and federal and state background check. You can watch our video on background checks for more information. Remember, one of the most important parts of your application is your honesty and forthcomingness about anything that may be found on your background check. If you have any questions as to if anything on your background check would eliminate you from consideration as a potential real estate broker, you also have the option for predetermination. Congratulations! You're almost finished with your application. All that is needed now is your signature and to submit your application fee. It's important to remember that the NCREC only accepts payments submitted online. It is not possible to complete and submit your application in person or to pay with cash or a check. Congratulations! You have now completed and submitted your application to the North Carolina Real Estate Commission to become a licensed broker. After the NCREC has verified completion of your educational requirements and your application and background check has been received, you will be granted approval to schedule your licensure exam. This will be delivered to you via email in 5 to 7 business days. Your exam will consist of a national licensure section and a state of North Carolina licensure section. For more information on how the exam is structured and what content will be covered, check out our video, The Licensure Exam. To take your exam, you may either schedule with PSI to take it from the comfort of home via online proctoring or in person at a PSI testing site. PSI testing sites are located in the following places. Remember, you must pass both sections of the licensure exam within 6 months of receiving approval from the NCREC. If you are not able to pass both sections in that time, you will have to complete a new application and background check. If you do elect to complete your exam via virtual proctoring, you will have to take some requirements into consideration. First, you will need to check the compatibility of your computer via the PSI website. By visiting their website, PSI will run a check of your entire system to ensure that it meets the requirements to complete a virtually proctored exam. You will need to use a desktop computer or a laptop that has a webcam and a microphone. You will also be required to use the Google Chrome browser and have access to internet speed with a minimum of 10 megabytes per second download and 5 megabytes per second upload speed. If you have any concerns about your computer's compatibility with these requirements, you may visit PSI's website to double check. To prevent your scores from being disqualified and your test session terminated, you must have a quiet place where you can ensure you will be able to take the test undisturbed. There are also a number of considerations for what may be considered a prohibited item if you opt to complete your exam via virtual proctoring. Like other sorts of tests you've taken, you are prohibited from having any notes, textbooks, or reference materials in the room with you. Your phone and/or any electronic devices that are not the computer you are using for the test are also not permitted to be in your testing area. Your virtual proctor will be using your webcam and microphone to check your surroundings and to monitor that you are not accessing outside materials or recording any components of the exam. You can find a detailed list of prohibited items and the PSI virtual proctoring protocol in your RELINC booklet or online at www.psi.com. PSI will provide reasonable accommodations for candidates with disabilities. Let's watch the video to learn more. PSI complies with the Americans with Disabilities Act and strives to ensure that no individual with a disability, defined by the ADA as a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, a person who has a history or record of such an impairment, or a person who is perceived by others as having such an impairment, is deprived of the opportunity to take the examination solely by reason of that disability. PSI will provide reasonable accommodations for candidates with disabilities. Candidates requesting special accommodations must call PSI at 1-800-367-1565 extension 6750 to schedule their examination. In order to take your exam, you will need to provide an acceptable form of primary identification. This is identification that contains your photo, signature, and is valid and unexpired. Examples of these accepted IDs include state-issued driver's license, including learner's permit, state-issued identification card, U.S. government-issued passport, U.S. government-issued military identification card, U.S. government-issued alien registration card, Canadian government-issued ID, and U.S. employment authorization card. Please note, student and employment IDs are not acceptable forms of identification, and you will not be able to use them to check in for your exam. Military IDs may only be used by candidates who choose to take the exam at a testing center and cannot be used for remote proctoring check-in. What if you have an oh no moment because you overslept and missed your scheduled testing time? What do? Whether you accidentally miss your exam or simply need another chance to pass one or both sections, you will need to apply directly through PSI and reschedule the examination section or sections that you will need to complete and pass. Please note, this must be done within your 6 months NCREC examination eligibility approval period and will require you to pay your testing fee with each attempt. If you are retaking the exam because you have not received a passing score in one or both sections, you will need to also make sure that you still have at least 10 days remaining within the 6-month examination eligibility period after your last testing date. Let's review the final few testing policies set forth by PSI. First, is there any instance where an absence can be excused? Though they are limited, there are circumstances that will be excused without fulfilling the requirement for 2-day advance notice. If your absence was a direct result of an emergency situation beyond your control that you could not have reasonably foreseen, you may request that your absence be excused. In the case of inclement weather, power failure, or emergency that forces the closure of the testing center, PSI personnel will attempt to contact you and reschedule your exam appointment. Should this happen, you will not be penalized and you will not need to submit an additional payment. What circumstances do lead to a forfeiture of your testing fees? Failing to schedule to take your exam prior to the end of your 6-month approval period, failing to cancel your exam appointment less than 2 days prior, failing to report to your scheduled exam appointment, arriving late after the scheduled start time, or failing to present one of the approved forms of primary ID. This will lead to forfeiture of your commission application fee as well as your PSI testing fee. There are many separate components of the application, but Skyline School is here to help you through the process. From our pre-licensure course to our exam prep, we will give you the knowledge you need to successfully complete your application and pass the national and state sections of the licensure exam. We look forward to seeing you in class.